You write code that works perfectly when one thread runs it. Then you add a second thread and suddenly the numbers are wrong, data gets corrupted, and the bug only shows up at 3 in the morning. The problem is not your logic. The problem is shared state and the tools we use to protect it. Today we are breaking down 3 primitives that every developer needs to understand: the Mutex, the Semaphore, and the Reentrant Lock. 3 tools, 1 shared resource. 0 confusion by the end of this video. 2 threads, 1 shared counter. Thread A reads the value, gets 5. Thread B also reads the value, also gets 5. Thread A computes 5 plus 1 and writes 6. Thread B computes 5 plus 1 and also writes 6. The counter should be 7. It is 6. Nobody threw an exception. Nobody logged an error. The data is just silently wrong. This is a race condition, and it happens because reading and writing are not atomic operations. Both threads saw the same old value before either had finished writing the new one. Every concurrency primitive exists to prevent exactly this scenario. Mutex, short for mutual exclusion, guarantees that only one thread can hold it at a time. Thread A calls lock. Thread A now owns the mutex and proceeds. Read 5, compute 6, write 6, unlock. Only after unlock can thread B acquire it. Thread B was sleeping the entire time, blocked in the kernel, burning 0 CPU. The key property of a mutex is ownership. The thread that locked it is the only thread that can unlock it. This is not just a convention. Most mutex implementations enforce it. If a different thread tries to unlock, you get an error. This ownership rule is what makes a mutex safe for mutual exclusion. Semaphore is different. Instead of 1 permit, it holds a count. Semaphore of 3 means 3 threads can acquire it simultaneously. Thread acquires, thread B acquires, thread C acquires, permits drop to 0. Thread D tries to acquire and blocks. When any of the first 3 call release, a permit returns and thread D can proceed. The critical difference from a mutex: any thread can call release. Thread D could release a permit that thread A acquired. There is no ownership. This makes semaphores ideal for signaling patterns, rate limiting, and bounding access to a pool of resources like database connections or HTTP workers. They are not designed for mutual exclusion. Now for the Reentrant Lock, sometimes called a recursive lock. Imagine method A calls lock, then calls method B, which also calls lock on the same lock object. With a plain mutex, thread A would deadlock itself because it already holds the lock and is now waiting for itself to release it. A Reentrant Lock solves this by tracking a count. First acquisition sets count to 1. Second acquisition by the same thread increments to 2. Third to 3. Each return from a method decrements the count. Only when it reaches 0 is the lock actually released and other threads can proceed. This is essential for recursive algorithms and for calling synchronized methods from within other synchronized methods. Binary semaphore and mutex look identical on the surface. Both have a value of 0 or 1, but the ownership rule is what separates them. A mutex has an owner. Only the locking thread can unlock. A binary semaphore has no owner. Any thread can signal it. This matters for signaling patterns. Thread A blocks on acquire, waiting for signal. Thread B does some work and calls release. That is a valid use of a semaphore. With a mutex, thread B cannot unlock something thread A lock. The other practical difference is deadlock risk. Mutex ownership means if a thread dies holding a lock, the system can detect it. Semaphores provide no such guarantee. Deadlock. Thread A locks mutex A successfully. Thread B locks mutex B successfully. Now thread A tries to lock mutex B and blocks because thread B holds it. Thread B tries to lock mutex A and blocks because thread A holds it. Neither can proceed. Both sleep forever. This is the classic circular wait condition. The diagram shows exactly why it happens. 2 threads, each holding 1 resource, each waiting for the resource the other holds. Fix 1. Always acquire locks in the same order everywhere in your codebase. If every thread locks A before B, the cycle cannot form. Fix 2. Use try-lock with a timeout so threads can back off and retry rather than sleeping forever. Which primitive should you reach for? Start with this question: how many threads need simultaneous access? If the answer is exactly 1, you need a mutex or a lock. Then ask, does the same thread re-enter this lock from a recursive call or from a method that calls another synchronized method? If yes, use a Reentrant Lock. If no, a plain mutex or synchronized block is enough. If the answer is more than 1, you need a semaphore initialized to use it for thread pools, rate limiters, and connection pools. The decision tree is simple once you know what each primitive actually guarantees. Quick reference before you go. Mutex, 1 permit ownership enforced. The locking thread must unlock, best for critical sections. Semaphore, n permits, no ownership. Any thread can release, best for pools and rate limiting. Reentrant Lock, 1 permit ownership enforced. Same thread can lock multiple times and count is tracked, best for recursive algorithms. The rule of thumb: default to a mutex, reach for a Reentrant Lock when you have recursion, and use a semaphore when you are bounding concurrent access to a shared resource pool. Now go fix that race condition. Thanks for watching SysSketch. If this cleared up something that felt fuzzy before, drop a like and subscribe for more system design explained simply. All of these concepts come up constantly in system design interviews and in production code, so the clearer your mental model, the better. See you in the next one.